are now at the second half of this league stage of the Gold Team Championships. 9 weeks, and we have just finished 4.5 of them. So on to the second half we go. Not that that's really relevant. That's not a thing that the league works with. It works with 3 phases of 3 weeks. But just thought you'd like to know that if you are watching all of these, you're halfway there. So today we've got a powerful encounter. Brox versus Leaoh, Suning versus RNG. And if you've been following this week, you'll know that it's really getting close up there. VK are on 6 wins, but everyone else is just piling in behind on 4 or 5. Liquid on 3, but they still haven't played this week, so they've got plenty of chance to catch up as well. Let's have a look at the lineups. Brox has got the Warrior banned out. He has the Druid, and as you can see, it is the Dragon Druid, but the Malygos version of the Dragon Druid. This is where it started to come into its own a little bit more, especially in APAC Grandmasters. He has Plot Twist Warlock. I think this was the week where all the Plot Twist Warlocks got slaughtered in Grandmasters. And he has the Demon Hunter. For Leaoh, Druid, Demon Hunter, his own Plot Twist Warlock, and he has the Warrior. And as I always say, if you get your Druid banned out, you've got access to the best 2 classes in Hearthstone. And I always feel that's just a strong spot to be in. Also a strong spot to be in. It's having Demon Hunter taking on Druid, and a powerful looking opening hand for Leaoh. Two of my... I've got several, like they're not the 2 absolute favourite players of mine, but they are 2 of my favourite players in this event so far. Brox has been putting in the hours in Masters Tour events as well, with a really strong 28-15 record in Masters Tours. Also, I believe he got top 8 in Bucharest as well. I was there, I should know really. And Leaoh has had the 3-3-0 victories, including an absolute demolition of a Lion earlier in the week, and maybe that's part of the reason that Druid got banned here, because Lion just didn't get to play any Hearthstone in that match. She just got Druided out of the game. RNG, I think, are the team if I had to pick a team to win it, I think it'd be RNG. With Leigh, Lise and Kylin, they're just all very strong. Kylin gets a little bit nervous, but he seems to be slowly getting that under control. But Lee's been there, done that, and still playing good Hearthstone. Does decide to go for the Overseer, and Brox is thinking, well, why did you think for so long? But you've got to think for a long time. Yeah. And there's the emote goes out. You've got to think for a long time, because your opponent has 2 ways of dealing with the next 2. You're in trouble. But Brox sends out the emote there because I think he felt that roping into coining this out was a bit of BM, but it wasn't. Leigh had a legitimate reason to keep the coin, play the Overseer next turn, and then he could coin out next turn an attack, get the 2-2, and then if it was dealt with, the turn after he'd have 4 mana. He could have played another Overseer and attack again with the hero power, and that would have been huge, and he's regretting his life choices right now. Because now he's in the position where, like, this is the decision he made at last turn. Now he hasn't got that option available. He can just pass. Where he's sat, he doesn't know how to read into the emote. He doesn't know how to read into the fact that Brox has drew more cards. All he knows is he hasn't got an Overseer. If he plays this one and it gets blown up, he is going to have nothing to do. He's going to have to play probably Altruist on its own the turn after, although there should be some good pickups. He also has the mana burn to occupy himself. That would have been a bit of the part of his calculations. He wants to mana burn next turn, so may not have had that attack option available to him if he hadn't gone down this route. Because he's expecting this turn to get the Overgrowth, and you really don't want Druid having 7 mana. You want to develop and mana burn at the same time. So it's not just as straightforward as it seems, as Leigh, a little bit of relief there. So it's kind of a win and kind of a lose, because the whole point of the mana burn is you get to develop whilst you delay the Druid. Well, the only developing he's doing is getting a 1-mana 2/2 for nothing. And this has come about because of the order in which he played things. But because he couldn't pick up anything to go with it, it's not ideal. However, he's in a good spot. Hitting the Druid for decent amounts next turn. Altruist in hand, Skull in hand. That should allow for some very damaging shenanigans in the next few turns. And it's just a good matchup for Demon Hunter. Sometimes you do need to get Kane or Warglaves to get it done. And Lee does not have either of those at the moment. Because there's usually one big taunt you have to circumvent one way or another. And at the moment he hasn't got either of the two regular ways. But the Skulls should sort that out. He's got a lot of outs for next turn, Lee. He doesn't want to pick up a 1-mana minion, but Twin Slice would be great to go with his Adept. Warglaves would just be great because it's damage. Any 3-mana minion's good. Kane's good. He's like, the only bad draws really are the cards that are already in his hand. He wouldn't want to play Snap. Wouldn't want to get a pair here. Yeah, and Brox is aware that something is amiss, so he's getting rid of this. It's really going to work out well for him if Lee doesn't pick up anything good. Alright, Scoundrel's pretty handy in this position. It's not great, and Lee's got to consider, does he just want to play a 6/4 Adept, try and finish this off? It's quite a powerful minion. There's also the consideration to playing Altruist here, so that next turn you can play the Skull and all the things you draw off the Skull and maybe rack up some chunky damage in the process. So the reason he's going to spend a long time on this turn is he has to think of all the options he can get from the Scoundrel. Make sure there's enough good ones, and there's a good one. Metamorphosis is a nice, straightforward pick. In fact, the only issue I have with that is how quickly he picked it. Not that it makes that much difference, but the way he's been playing slowly does tip Brox off just a little bit. Yeah, the mana burn's not going to get any better for him, so this does at least shut down a 0, and as it turns out, that's pretty handy. I'm very interested to see how Lee now approaches this. I think he has to shut his eyes next turn and Skull. But he can also just try and win the match, or the game, without ever playing the Skull. It doesn't seem ideal. But Metamorphosis is 10. Altruist, let's give it a couple of points of damage. The Adept is 4. He's almost got enough here, and he's got not much time. I think you have to Skull. My instinct is to Skull next turn. I'm sort of ignoring Brox's issues, but just trying to make some space in his hand and working out whether losing the Moonfire is viable. So yeah, I think Lee's got the interesting side of this one, because he's not playing Druid. Very harsh on Druid. Druid's a beautifully crafted deck. Let's go with that. I think that's fair to say. Everything just does its job so well, fits together so well. But in terms of analysing it, I think that there's a lot more difficulty coming from the Demon Hunter side. And yeah, Lee has decided not to Skull. He's decided that it's too slow. Damage is the way forward. And maybe we'll see him Altruist into Skull if runs out of steam. But this looks good. Sets up lethal with meta plus the 10 on board. Now obviously he's not expecting that to work. And Brox is playing the swipe, as you can see. And deck lists are open, so Lee knows that. But it is going to keep the pressure on. Like a meta next turn. Even if none of the minions hit face, this 5 puts the Druid down to 10. And then he really is just a Kane or a Warglaive would be the perfect thing here. They're so powerful against Druid because you spend your life on 30 health. So if you need to hit something 3 times to kill it, even if it's a 7-10 or something, you just take the 21 and get the last points of damage to face. Brox still trying to make time to do all the good things he wants to do. And next turn looks like the time for that to me. Just Ysera into Ironbark seems okay. Actually, curious he hasn't already just gone for that, but anyway. Now Lee isn't going to get it done the way he planned last turn, which he didn't expect, but he was testing the waters, and now he may have to skull. And the reason I keep going on about this stupid skull is because I think it's so good with Altruis. Altruis doesn't clear, that's the problem. If the board comes full of 4 12s, doing 1 damage 3 or 4 times isn't exactly perfect, but... Now... Not only does he have to decide if he wants to play a mage, which I think he probably does, let's decide which one. So if he plays Altruis, he's likely to be working from the right-hand side, but... If he's going to set up Metamorphosis next turn, he's actually likely to be working from the left-hand side because the I-beam would then cost 1 as soon as Altruis is played. So actually I think playing the one on the right-hand side might be the correct one to play. One of the reasons I actually really enjoy Demon Hunter is you have to see what's going to be happening in a few turns' time, even down to those micro details. As you can see, Lee is showing his strength by disagreeing with me on every single turn. But Brox has now got the Ysera down, is going to draw a lot of cards next turn. And a lot of cards is portals. It's the portals he needs. Because Druid will kill you in 2 turns when things get going. There's a Death Ring. Brox is looking happy now. He's just got to not die next turn. Oh, another Malygos. How many Malygoses would you like, sir? Yeah, okay, have another portal. Alright. Well, this is a winning board if he doesn't die next turn. He's getting a lot of commands off as well. This was a period where the animations were sometimes lagging Druids out. So Brox has killed everything he can, and he's gone all in on defense here, knowing that this is just a winning the board state. And this is kind of what I was talking about, although it's even more extreme than I expected. With the Altruis, how many times can he use Altruis here? It's a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're allowing for Spectral Sight being kind. 6 damage to all these minions does precisely nothing though. And Lee getting a taste of his own medicine from earlier in the week. Looks like he's going to just get Druided here. And it does make you realise why Druid gets banned the 3rd most. I haven't got the stats for this tournament, but Druid is getting banned a lot of the time. Not as much as Warrior or Demon Hunter, just to be clear, but it's a noticeable amount of bans. Whereas in Grandmasters, when it got banned, it was like, oh, Druid, huh? Lee with only a purple lightning thing there on the right hand side. I thought I would change colour. Now Brox has got an orange brain symbol. I'm out of ideas. I'm going to have to go back and review the tapes to when they started doing these and try and put patterns together, because I want to. Alright, we're into the Warlock now. Plot Twist Warlock versus Druid. And it took a little while to work out what was favoured in this matchup. It felt like the Warlock was the favoured deck for the longest time, but not so sure. I think it's probably Druid favoured. But Lee has chosen to queue it up into the Druid instead of the Warrior, so he thinks it's favoured. Because Warrior's fine against Druid, not so much against the Dragon Druid, but it's fine. And so Lee feels this is the better of the 2 options. The Dragon Druid does have limited resources to some degree. But look at the mana already for Brox here. Getting a bit out of control. Have a look at Lee's list, because he has the Sky Cavern and the Blood Rage Thanos, both of which are alerts to me that I should actually be looking at the deck list. It's not quite your common or garden warlock. Excuse me, I try and work out. Yeah, he's got one cartoon. One Hellfire, I want to say. Double Doomsayer. Trying to work out what's being cut, which is always the hardest thing when you look at somebody else's list, especially in translations you don't necessarily instantly work out. Anyway, he is playing the Cartoot version with a lot more early defense, basically, which will mean there should be a little bit less of the damage and removal. As you can see, there's only, well, you can't see, but as I can see, there's only one Soulfire, for instance. So a little bit less in on killing your opponent from 18 and a bit more in on just not dying. And I think that this is the version that hasn't caught on at all outside of China. You see it sometimes on ladder, but I think the top players, Grandmasters players, are finding this and just not be the way forward in general. Nice work from Lee, going clear Doomsayer into turn 7. Exactly what he'd want. Just totally shutting down, not totally, but likely shutting down the Mount Seller turn. I'm sure that there's some combination of Bog Beams and, well, yeah, there's lots of combinations of Bog Beams, Moonfires, Innovates, Crystal Powers that get rid of this, but they're pretty wasteful. Unless, I'm just going to double check. Yeah, if you had another Bog Beam, this would actually be mad. You'd be able to Mount Seller and kill the Doomsayer and present a board. And get that all done way before turn 8, way before that Twisting Nether does its job. So Lee's wondering what's going on here, but we can see what's actually going on is Brox is trying to manage his hand size. Got quite a lot of card draw in hand and a lot of things to do in the next few turns. And nothing really does. Why does he swipe face here? Because it's just the lesser of all the evils available. Now, the big old whelp just draws him another card. That's really unhelpful for him. So yeah. We see the weird looking turn, but you know, swiping face does keep the pressure on the Warlock to keep doing the health gain. Which it will do, because that's what it does. Oh, okay. It looks like there's no summoners in this deck. That can't be right. I will have this for you in a moment. No, there's no summoners in this deck. That's what he's given up for the Cartoot. Which I think is a problem. Because in the mirror match in particular, it's about tempo. And Cartoot is just a 3/4. So this deck is built to resist Demon Hunter more than your regular version of the deck. Well, Brox, last turn you decided that you were having a nightmare. You've got to go through it again this turn. Are we just going to see him play the Overgrowth and move on? Is that where he's at here? Kind of the exact same thing as last turn. Or have I miscounted and there's a way of doing this? Oh, he's going to... Okay. Because next turn he's going to play the Mount Seller and do all that stuff. He's just set up the Asura. He doesn't care about the 412 body. It's just there to be a constant nuisance through the game. He has the card draw in hand. And Lee... just about to complete the quest, and then things start getting pretty fruity for him. And there's a bit of a misconception, I think, still amongst a lot of people about how the quest works. You get the quest and you get cheap Hearthstone cards. Very occasionally you get cheap Hearthstone cards that are Malygos and Soulfire and Rain of Tears, and you just Rain of Fire, and you just blow your opponent up. But more commonly, you just get cheap Hearthstone cards, and cheap Hearthstone cards are good. A 0 mana 9-drop is just a good card. And so the aim, whilst it is to combo your opponent to death, is actually just to beat them with cheap Hearthstone cards. And the Druid's doing the same thing. It uses expensive Hearthstone cards, but it makes them cheap because it plays them ahead of curve. Isira makes 0 mana Hearthstone cards, and so on. Lee was ready for that. Got the Rain of Fire off before even the animations had finished. Right, Brox now has a structuring issue. He knows that the Twisting Nether is the big deal. I think there's only one. Let me just double check. There is only one. Twisting the Void. But he also knows that there's a 9 versus 14 chance of it being in hand, with 9 cards being in hand and 14 being in the deck, and the plot twist having just been played. And even though that's not 50-50, the old joke kind of applies when you're weighing this one up. Unless it's a very borderline decision, this is basically either he has it or he doesn't. It's near enough to let your brain wander down that route. So Brox is trying to put together, I don't know, a part-timer of a board. I think maybe he wants to just get a couple of dragons in and threaten Lee with this, keeping the Mount Seller back for a push once the AoE has gone. Seeing both Doomsayers, not that Doomsayer would really do anything to these people. Tell the dragons the end of the world is coming, and the dragons will say, yes, we're it. So Lee needs to find ways to not die, which is easy, but also find ways to generate 0 mana cards, preferably every turn if you can. And that's not so easy. And the problem with discussing this deck, it's not about can you kill the things. I mean, there's loads of ways of killing even the 8/8 now. But when you use your Moarg, it's gone. Never to be seen again. So knowing your win conditions is important here. I mean, Thanos doing a good job. There's the Hellfire. So, oh, and there's the sort of thing I was talking about. 0 mana busted cards. It back for 1 turn. So that looks like he's planning on playing Twisting Nether and then Alexstrasza together next turn. And playing the Kartut's basically a decoy. Like whistling innocently in the corner, playing his Kartut Defender. Nothing to see here. No Twisting Nether here. I had to put up this amazing defense. Look at it. You're never getting through my Kartut Defender. Please go all in getting rid of it so I can kill all your things. Yeah, and Brox isn't an idiot. Brox is very, very good at Hearthstone. He knows that's a possibility. And he's got to the Moonfire stage of this and he's having a think. Do I need any more stuff to get rid of this stupid Defender? I don't think I do. Slightly shaking the head. I don't think he wanted to use quite that many resources, but he's good. But now, the swing turn. And I know that there's been a lot of discussion about swing turns in Hearthstone. For me, they're fantastic. Because Lee had to play for this. He's actually not doing it. Feels like he's okay. Clearing at the board with the the nothing cards in his deck, the cards that aren't really there to do a lot in this matchup. And quite happy to patiently just say, okay, burn some more resources, Druid. Let's get rid of some more of those portals. Can you overflow, please, and draw a load more portals? Or I can laugh at your 4/1 Twilight Drake. Ha ha! Brox, one of the problems when your deck is full of ramp and card draw is that you draw a lot of ramp and card draw. And once again, Brox has not got a whole lot of things to do here. He can't even wrath his own Drake for one. I mean, he can. But yeah, if this was a 4/12, he might consider wrathing his own Drake for one just to get to a different card. But it would kill it, and I think a 4/1's important enough that he doesn't want that to happen. Just get the space for the overflow. Picking up his next board, which is going to come from his deck, and also the board after that, which is the Mount Seller. Does get the Prime, which is a big deal. That's like a further extra board for him. And I really have no idea which way this is going. Ends up having to bog beam his own 12/9. So if you thought I was crazy when I'm talking about having to wrath your own stuff, nope, not crazy today. Holy, Naught Mana Malagos. Now he can consider just the crazy ways to win. But he can still get rid of this and not use his Twisting Nether, and that seems to have been his plan for some time. Malagos Mortal Coil on the 12/9 alongside, I don't know, the Parrot. This is so complicated to play well, because whilst you have resources, everything is easy to deal with. But if you use the wrong resource at the wrong time, eventually your opponent's going to play a card that you should be able to deal with and can't. So this is a good use here. This is one card, get rid of a 12/9. He's unlikely to be plot twisting again, so he's not going to draw it again. At least not in a hurry, because all these Naught Mana cards in hand, you don't want to twist them away and turn them into their proper casting cost. These are just too good. Plus there's a chance he's used both plot twists and I've lost count. And now it's Brox has sort of got the same issue. It's like, okay, all of my plans are very similar. Any Hearthstone player can make a really challenging looking board out of this hand. He now knows basically what Lee's hand is. He'll count it as one hand with all the cards in Lee's deck. So he knows there's another. He doesn't know what the Naught cost cards are, but he knows there's at least 3 of them, and by extrapolation that means, you know, there's a good chance one of those cards is pretty powerful. He knows the Highlander cards are likely in hand, he knows they're likely active. So the one he's chosen to go with, and this is what I think is correct, even though he only has 5 cards left in deck, he's gone with the one that makes the most space in his hand. Very impressed with Lee's patience here. Remember, he has just lost the first game of Hearthstone that he has lost in this whole week. In this whole event. Did I say week? In the whole event. 9-0 to this point, now 9-1. And sometimes it's harder not to be upset when you've had a really good run and suddenly lose one, than when you're like on a 50-50 run. You start feeling like you just deserve to never lose ever again. And then Hearthstone happens and you remember that that's all nonsense, and you do your best to get the percentages you can out of the game. And Lee's played a very patient game here. Portals will be a big deal here. He should be able to just win if he's not dead. And the problem is Brox is now the one who's got to keep reacting. There's 24 on the board, so he knows he's dead next turn to any realistic hand. For instance, you Mortal Coil your own 1-1 and you play Zephyrus and you fireball him in the face to get the extra 6. For instance. I'm sure you can exercise for you at home how many different lethals can you make up from Lee's hand. It'll take you a long time because there's so many of them. Brox trying to dig. I think he realises that this isn't going his way now. The double moonfire from Malygos. The swipes are gone. The damage version of the deck's gone. I mean, it's never really been about the combo anyway today. It's been about trying to generate a board, but Lee has been immensely patient with his removal, matched it up at the right times, found a good time to strike. But he still hasn't got it done. Does that prove me a liar? I think it does. Do 16 damage, 8 damage with the minion, and 9 damage with the Malygos and Nether. -1 is not alive. Brox is like, okay, how many zero cost cards did you just have there that were amazing? And it is one of those decks, when you lose to it, you always feel, look, that's just not fair. But the deck has a plan, and that is the plan it's trying to execute. And like I was saying, it doesn't really matter what gets reduced. As long as you hit some of those expensive cards. And yeah, Lee hit above the expected rate there, but I think he played a very good game to go alongside it. And now we get the mirror match. I'm just going to check Brox's deck list before I say anything further about the matchup. Instead, I will talk about the weather or something. I'm not sure what. Yep, he has 2 Abyssal Summoners, which are called Abyssal Summoner. So when I was looking for weather in Lee's deck, had I known that, it would have made my life a lot easier. Anyway, the fact there are Abyssal Summoners in Brox's deck is a huge, huge deal. This is a very tempo-oriented matchup. And Lee is going to struggle to generate that tempo. Second prize is getting your quest done, getting your plot twist done. But just making big things with Abyssal Summoners, forcing your opponent to clear them, can be gigantic for you. Like all good control matchup players, both rattling through the early turns, knowing exactly what they want to do, which is set up their hand and that's it. Lists. Again, a reminder of what they are playing for here. The 2 bottom teams get eliminated from the competition after week 9, or stage 3, week 3, as it is correctly known. And all the teams are on roughly the same score right now. I could try and sell you the importance of 1 win when they're all so close, and I think you can do that for yourselves, but the real story is we're halfway through the event and nobody's miles in front and nobody's miles behind. Could quite easily have a team 7-2 or 8-1 by now. That's just not happened. They'll be looking at almost certain qualification of the playoffs and look at those top 2 spots, but it's just not got there. Looks actually playing out the Moab here. I'm curious to see what hand size we will see the players go with. If your hand size is constantly at 8 instead of 9, then that's a big deal because you can tap and draw and just it flows so much more nicely. You'd think you want to keep your hand at 9 and you play something and tap, but then if you tap into the wrong thing, Just gives you a much more messy plan. So staying to 8 is something I think we'll see happen here. Lee planning the whole game from this spot. I'm not even joking. Making sure there was nothing going on in his hand that mattered, and there wasn't. The thing that matters is getting this quest completed. Get cards that cost 0. Which actually makes these pickups he's out now quite bad. If he doesn't twist again, then he's going to have to never have a 0 mana, and Malygos never have a 0 mana nether, and that nether's going to be huge for him, you would think. I feel like the questing is the play here. I don't see any reason not to play it. I mean, a reason not to play it would be if you think the game goes to fatigue, but I don't think that that fatigue influences the outcome of these mirrors very often. I was going to say it doesn't go to fatigue, but it will get to 0 cards a reasonable amount of the time, I think. Got quite a few mirrors like that at the moment where you get to no cards, but it doesn't matter because one of you's got all your resources left and the other has nothing. And the game becomes solvable. Priest is a bit like that. But Priest is a lot like that in the mirror. You solve the game when nobody has any cards left. Well, you partially solve it because you don't know what they have generated. Brox trying to empty his hand and failing here. Might see an Immortal Call his own minion. He doesn't have to. Does still have 1 space, so he might see that next turn. Giving himself a chance to at least kill something of Lee's if needed. And these are the irritating times for Lee. Lee is the one, because he hasn't got the Abyssals, who does need to be a little bit more worried about using up his removal. He's always got to be able to deal with an 8-8 or a 9-9. And this is actually just not a fun board. You can leave it for 1 turn. You don't want to, but you can. Because of the amount of healing in your deck. But I think Lee is just going to tidy it up as efficiently as possible. Okay. Oh, this is so awkward from both players. Trying to work out what they can afford to get rid of. Brox needs to constantly work out whether to draw cards or not. He seems to be just a slightly better spot, although he's a long way behind, having not plot twisted on the quest. 11 versus 17, as you see there. So catching up a bit with these Mortal Coils. Not dumping them, trying to draw cards, gets the plot twisted. Now he's ahead. So quest is done, and we start to find out who's going to get in front by who's going to get the 0 mana cards. And there's the first Abyssal as well for Brox. So Brox is now going to be able to take control for some time, I should think. We'll be able to just counting cards. I think there's 10 there. That's unfortunate. Yeah, we'll be able to start pressuring from this point on. That's very unfortunate. Yeah, okay. Just blow up your own board so you can draw another card. It's so important if there's a Malygos or Alexstrasza or Dragon Queen Alexstrasza available. You want to get no cost card. Lee, as you can see here, prioritising occupying board. Got to find a way to get some damage in. He's going to struggle to win with combo at the moment. Got a lot of those damage cards in his hand, plus the Malygos in his hand. Makes it very difficult to combo win without doing any extra damage. Something that astounds me often in this deck is how early you get your Dragon Queen and your Zephyrs active. Brox has 12 cards left in his deck and his Zephyrs is active at this point. So trading Netherwing just seems appropriate to me here. But Brox has got something else lined up in mind. Just constantly making sure he gets these cards and then deciding. First rule of chat is, you know, if they don't draw first, give them some hell. And Brox is making sure to draw first the best he can every single turn. Right, now it's Lee's turn. The level playing field. The first thing he's got to do is dump one of these cards. It's probably just a coin at this point. Start your turn off and then draw a card and see what's going on. Sky Captain can be played if needed. Sky General Krug. Sorry, I forgot he got promoted. Wonder how many times I've said that incorrectly. At least twice. Sorry for that. Yeah, his days of being a captain are long gone. He's got his own parrot and everything now. And now Lee's got the hand dumping issues, but he doesn't seem to manage it as well as Brox. Brox seems to have been very proficient with his ordering throughout this. Whether that's a function of the hand, I'm not sure, but it just feels like he's been a lot more under control. And now it's time for the Abyssals, the Summoners, the 9/9 makers, whatever you want to call them. Lee's going to Dark Skies this down. And he puffed his cheeks out there. I'm not sure what he thought was going to happen. Pretty sure he hasn't made a mistake. He didn't look like amazed. I think maybe he just was making sure, you know, he knows he's going to twist and hope that this doesn't go wrong. Oh, he's drawn Malygos again. Yeah, that's the... Oh my goodness. Well, last game he drew nearly all of these cards for 0 mana, and this game he's got to play them the hard way, and this is going to make it very tough for him to get an advantage. Every number in his hand is a number that can't be reduced, and there's a lot of 9s in his hand. He'll want to clear and play Doomsayer at some point to buy some time. This is very, very dangerous at any point now for both players. Both players can regular Alex Strauss their opponent to 15 at will. So anytime there's 15 attack unopposed on the board, that's the end. I know this is far from unopposed, but this is 9 attack on board that Brox is going to have a serious think about whether he can connect it to face. Of course, if he's not Alex Straussing, that's not so relevant. And he seems to have a use for the Netherwing that I'm not thought of, because I think trading in here, just playing crazy Netherwing, is a place I'd like to be, but he's trying to still manipulate the taps as well. He's got 8 cards. Still a Malygos hiding in there, for those of you who like the combos. Well, his hand hasn't got that much reduced. Just a tough plot twist to decide what to do with. His hand's quite good. I guess he'll get rid of the bits. He'll play the bits he wants. He'll get the chance to draw some 0 cards, and then he'll take a view. And if he draws too much expensive stuff, he'll twist it all away and start again. Give himself 2 chances to draw things cheaply. Looking at Lee's situation here, though. And it's just those 2 abyssals. You can see the pressure that they've put on Lee. Every turn he's really just had it to do to stay in it. Plus he hasn't drawn well, but I don't think he'll get much sympathy from anybody after seeing the previous game and after seeing his match against Lion earlier in the week. I'm sure he wouldn't want it either. But he is trying to break the cycle of not getting anything done, so this might be Hellfire into Doomsayer. At least that gives him a chance next turn to go first. Gets his chance to go Alex Strage and plays Naught Mana Dragons, but again, he's got a Twisting Nether to worry about himself in his opponent's hand. But now Brox does have to play something into a Doomsayer. So I wonder if we'll see a plot twist just to avoid having to do anything about that. Thing is, I think he'll probably quite like his hand how it is. So is there anything he's willing to just throw away? Sense Demons works. That doesn't work though. Yeah, Brox, what was that? He's been so... It's just a cast of curse, right? Every time you say how someone's being so incredibly efficient and calculating and working stuff out, they do something absolutely horrible like that. Yep, tapping with 10 cards in hand, and he got away with it, is the takeaway. It's a wake-up call, it's a terrible piece of play. But actually, he only burned a Netherwing. It wasn't key to winning, although, you know, 5/5 is a nice card. He doesn't want that not to be there. But yeah, it shocks you. When something like that happens, you've got to just forget it. And this is in front of thousands and thousands of people who watch the Gold Team Championship in China. It's just embarrassing, and we know that Brox is playing fantastic in Master Stores and so on. It's a shame for him there. But the key is to forget about it and win this game, and then everyone will forget what happened. That had all the hallmarks of someone who made a plan and then just either got their ordering wrong or whatever, because the tap was instant after drawing the imp. Oh, so I wonder if he queued the command to tap and forgot he was going to get the imp, because he knew there was nothing to fetch. That feels likely to me. You dump the Sense Demons, hit the tap button, yeah. I can see how that mistake happened now. Meanwhile, lethal has happened because he's tapped into a Malygos at the right time now. So yeah, always interesting to work out how the mistakes are made, but no ill has come from it. And Brox takes a 2-1 lead. So Lee down to his warrior, which, you know, if you want to be down to something, that's where you want to be at. Warrior pretty good against this deck. Brox, I think, may keep a lot of this part of the hand. I don't know the matchup so well from the Warlock side. I know it pretty well from the Warrior side. And the card that makes all the difference in this matchup is the Warrior. There's one card that matters, and it's Warmaw Challenger. And the reason that's the one card that matters is because it has 10 health. Oh, you play Armorsmith here, though. You just want as much health on the board as possible, and the rest just falls into place. If you can play around Dark Skies, it just becomes way too much. The warrior gets to do its normal things, which is fantastic, and the only way it can be stopped really is a Dark Skies, and a lot of warrior stuff obviously is built to be pinged, so Dark Skies isn't that horrendous even at the best of times. But Warmaul Challenger just instantly wrecks your opponent. So they cannot deal with it. You can buff it up into a 3/9 within a rage, and maybe buff it with a rampage, and force your opponent, the Warlock, to use spot removal, which usually involves a Moarg and a Nether Breath. And as soon as their hand starts to shrink, they never complete the quest, and you just beat them, for instance. So you're trying to force out cards, multiples, and you do that by avoiding Dark Skies, because Dark Skies is one card, not a multiple cards. That's kind of how plurals work. Interesting. Is he playing the greenskin version? I think he is. Almost certain. Yeah, he's playing greenskin. So always a debate when to play your evolve if you've got greenskin in your deck. It's a very nice card to evolve after fetching it with Ankar, but there's no Ankar. Don't have the Corsair Cash though, which is what made me wonder. Brox draws the Swampoo straight after the weapon vanishes, isn't it always the way? But there's plenty more weapons where that came from. But you can see now the problem he's going to have. May have to Rain of Fire this. Doesn't do anything. Moarg Dark Skies next turn, maybe. Yeah, he's just going to try and complete the quest and hope he's still alive. That's the problem with Warrior as well, is that sometimes here Warrior just plays Blustersworn Mercenaries on the Warmaul Challenger, and that's the end of the game. At the moment, Lee doesn't have it. Gets the Ankar, which means he can risky skip it into Battle Rage next turn, and the beating has commenced. And Brox is a worried man, and rightly so, because his last deck is Demon Hunter, and Demon Hunter doesn't face up well against Warrior at all. It's one of the nastier matchups in the whole of Hearthstone, which is weird, right? Because they're the two best decks, and you'd think that if one of the best decks beats the other one, it would be easily the best deck. Well, it kind of is, but not so much in Last Hero Standing. At least that's my opinion, and that's the opinion I've stuck with so far through 5 weeks. And if it's wrong, it's going to be a bit embarrassing when people watch 30 videos of wrong opinion. Oh well. That's why they call them opinions. A bit like Galacron, really, opinions. Everybody has 5. Watching how Brox is trying to deal with this. Look at the resources he's had to use here. This is what I was talking about, hand size. He did manage to get his plot twist in before this happened, though, which is massive. And Leaoh actually isn't in the perfect spot. He's still going to have a great risky skipper and battle rage, but he's going to have to waste some time. Yeah, it's fine. All these cards should end the game. And I'm talking about that from Lee's point of view. We can actually see that Brox's hand, other than an Abyssal, which can cards, Brox is kind of just out of gas by virtue of the expense of his hand size, but yeah, that gives him something to do. He'll be dead to some Corcoran, Inner Age, Bloodsworn Mercenary action. In some worlds, probably not actually. Well, he will, because he'll take 3 from the Netherwing, which can't have been active last game or something when I said it should be used. But there is no lethal here. Well, okay, there is a lethal here. It involves going face, getting a risky skipper, and then loads of bombs connecting with face. But there's no... Yeah, if that was your only chance, you would go for it, but he's in a much better position than needing to do that. Grom action hit you for 12 is on the cards. He needs to be able to try to set that up, which means he needs to be able to get through an 8/8 Abyssal Demon Guy Man next turn, whatever the Abyssal Summoner creates. He's just an 8/8 Demon. One of the things you have to decide when you're in this situation as warrior is, do you care about the Netherwing? Your instinct is always no. But if you leave it up and it hits you for 5 and your opponent has a good hand, they can end up making an 8/8 and suddenly you're facing 13 next turn. They've got quite a bit of direct damage. So experience teaches you to take this more seriously than maybe it looks. And Lee did a great combination of getting rid of it and damage to face and shoring up with some armour. And he's put himself in a position where he should be able to win this next turn. Yes, he might be facing an Abyssal, but he should be able to get through that and still get a Grom to the face. Using the combination, because the skipper will activate the Grom. And there should be a bomb going to the 8/8. You can buff the Armour Smith into a 3-attack minion if needed. By no means certain, he may not even choose to go for it. He's got the Rampage. Double Rampage, actually, that might be enough. Seven. I think I always start this turn by putting 1 bomb into the 7/7 and just seeing what happens. It doesn't really change my turn much. And on the occasions where it does some damage to the Abyssal, you just win the game on the spot and move on to the next one. Yeah, I want to put that bomb in there and see where it is. I don't think it wastes anything valuable. Okay, that's like the worst outcome possible apart from hitting the 2/2. Okay, that's the game. You trade into it, you play Grommash, you win a rage, and boof! Brox explodes, and it's 2 each. Oh, has he found a cheeky way to do this? Yes, he has. A little bit of a crowd-pleasing moment here. Good for Lee, and it goes to 2-2 in this important match between Sunning and RNG. Into game number 5. It's Demon Hunter versus Warrior. Massively favoured for Lee, who, let's not forget, has won his first 3 matches in this league. 3-0. So this is the closest he's been to losing. But if he wins, he is going to be 4-0. And the best performing players do get into the Chinese playoffs for the World Championships. So get used to seeing more of Lee, because there's a chance we're going to see him go all the way this year. Getting the hand you want when you're playing this matchup. You want the Corsair Cash. He has the Corsair Cash. From Brox's side, you're looking to be a bit quicker than this. That's nice though. That's going to allow him to keep the pressure on the Twin Slice and the Setia. One of the problems is you make a giant board of 2/2s and they just get blown up with a risky skipper, and because of that, no matter how tempting all these lovely turns look, we will probably see Lee Corsair Cash here. He may save it until turn 5 and play a bit slower. He does have the Tolvir and Rampage combo in hand. He's actually just going to go with the Lance. Try and control that way. That's fine. Don't want to let it get out of control, I guess. So we'll see the Corsair Clash going on turn 5. And you can see turn 4 is well spoken for with Tolvirs and potentially other minions. Lackeys from the weapon. A little bit awkward this turn. You probably have to put your face into the Overseer, but you don't want to. Just because there's two lackeys that do the job for you, but you don't know until after you swing. It's only 2 out of 7. Would have hit one as it happens. But yeah, he's made this wide board. And one of the ways that Warrior beats Demon Hunter is just by doing this. It's like, it feels weird. You feel like you're the control deck, which you kind of are in the matchup. And therefore you should just kill their things. But if you just keep putting your face into their minions, look how low Leah's got already. It's turn 3. That health total takes a beating, and Demon Hunter does have enough ways to do direct damage that the beating matters. So how you stop that from happening is you just beat your opponent. You do more damage to them than they're doing to you. And Lee next turn is going to play the Tolvir and the Rampage, most likely. And that's going to put him into a situation that's pretty impregnable. Brock's not even having time here to wait for Altruist into these. Oh, he doesn't freeze face. Which seems obvious because you're protecting the 2/2 mage. But that can turn out to be pretty bad news. It's easy for me to say, he's in such a horrible position here already. And this needs to be a superb spectral sight. Otherwise, weirdly enough, Brox is just going to end up in a lot of trouble. So he needs to plan. This is just planning. Next turn, Metamorphosis would allow him to put both of his 1-mana cards, because I-Beam would be 1, along with the Altruist, but is that too slow? These are the questions that Lee has asked by just not messing around, just killing everything that's played. Not going for any sort of risky skipper nonsense. Definitely not going for Armorsmith nonsense. That is always nice when it comes, but there are so many more ways to win this matchup than Armorsmiths. And this board occupation, when your opponent's minions are all 2/2s, a 2/3 is just a good thing to have on board, let's face it. It looks like Brox is going for the slightly longer plan here. Of Metamorphosis next turn. And Altruist. I think he knows this is not a plan that you want to be running right now. And yeah, Lee's just not messing around. He's just going to try and kill Brox quickly. That is the best way to end the issue. Corsair Clash on 5, says the cast. The Corsair Clash isn't going to be used. Got good cards. How can you find a 2-turn lethal out of this? Metamorphosis system is 10 damage. You've got to do that all. This is your only turn to do it if you're going to do that. Can you find 9 more from your Altruist the turn after? It seems very unlikely. And the only way to do it would be to skull. In this unlikely world. You know it's an unlikely world. But that means he doesn't get to Metamorphosis now. See what the Scoundrel offers. I don't know what it can offer, to be honest. I'm slightly biased because I can see the Corcon Elite waiting and the Corsair Clash. I know there's more damage to come. Brox has to treat it like the hand is full of just nothing. But this is just the last thing he wants to see. And that's going to be it, I think. Looks like RNG are going to get to 6 and 4, tying up VK at the top. And Sunning, who have done very little wrong, I feel, are going to find themselves at 4 and 6. Just a little bit of separation there. But it is a little bit. There's a long way to go. There's 4 more weeks of play. That's 8 more matches for both these teams. There's a lot can change in that time. But Lee is going to go to a personal 4-0. That's also a big deal. I'm not sure the exact mechanics of how they pick the players to represent, but it is the 4 best individuals from this league. I just don't know what the word best actually means. But I should imagine that winning 3-0 3 times and 3-2 once, however you define best, is probably in there, especially when your team's doing well, which tends to happen if one of your players goes 4-0. So Lee is absolutely dominating so far. This one isn't actually over either. Right, look at how Brox has managed to create something out of that. There is only 8 damage here, but there's so many lackeys can provide the extra 1. And he's safe even if he doesn't find the damage, which he doesn't. So now he has to actually think. So I'm sure he was hoping not to have to do this turn. Risky Skipper, Armor Smith, Battle Rage. You've still got 2 mana left. Problem with that is you don't take care of the Altruist. So should keep you alive though, doing it this way. And gonna get so much armor, or at least enough armor. He'll be okay. Finds the Rampage, which would be okay if he had the mana, which he doesn't. But at least he gets to Rampage on his War Maul now, take down Altruist, and the danger should be past. And I can go back to giving the victory speech I was trying to give before I was so rudely interrupted by him not having lethal. Alright, so 3 damage to face, he's got to do 22 here. All the cards in his hand add up to, what, 8 plus 10 plus 2? That's 20. Plus the hero power is 21. Plus he would need 2 turns to do all that. So I guess the only play is to meta down the 4-5. Leave the Skipper as a 1-1 so the opponent can't play anything. I don't know. I think Brox. I mean, Brox has lost. We can see the hands. I'm curious to see what he leaves up here. He's got very few resources left, so he can't leave up that much. Taking care of the Armor Smith first is a very good lesson in ordering and how to cope with situations, at least. So keeping himself together. But as we can see, Lee is going to go to 4-0. He's got the Cork on Elite, he's got weapon in hand, and RNG are starting to move away from the pack just a little bit, catching up with VK at the start of the second half of the Gold Team Championship.